Deep in the winter woods, isolation usually offers a grim kind of privacy. But for some, that silence is the first sign they are being accompanied by something they can't see. A freelance land surveyor with 15 years of experience lived for this solitude. He spent his career in the remote mountains of Idaho, often hiking miles into the Clearwater region to log markers where no one else would go. While working on a steep embankment, he hit a patch of hidden ice and slid 15 feet down the slope. The result was a severe ankle sprain that made every step an agonizing labor. In the wilderness, the loss of physical mobility changes a man's status from a traveler to a stationary target. As he hobbled back towards his camp, he noticed something in the fresh snow. A set of boot tracks emerged from the tree line to his left, matching his direction. They were fresh, with sharp edges that the falling snow hadn't yet softened. He began to hear heavy footsteps behind him, stopping whenever he did. There was a deliberate delay, a brief silence after his boots stopped moving, confirming the figure in the trees was mirroring his pace with mechanical precision. He reached the campsite and retreated into his tent, though the thin nylon offered no real protection. Immobilized by his injury, he listened as the footsteps moved from the trees to the perimeter of his tent, slowly circling him in the dark. Finally, he stepped outside to face whatever was out there. A sickly, pale man stood at the edge of the woods, staring back with an expressionless face. After a long silence, the stranger told him, "You're a lucky man," before turning back into the shadows. The encounter left him with a permanent change in how he worked. In the remote wild, survival depends on the ability to move. Without it, a person is entirely at the mercy of whoever happens to be watching. In northern Alaska, a professional wilderness guide found herself in a desperate fight for survival. During a sudden blizzard, her partner's snowmobile rolled, crushing his leg, and leaving him unable to ride or even sit upright in the deep snow. With the satellite failing and her partner's condition deteriorating, she made the agonizing choice to leave him sheltered in the snow. She pushed her snowmobile into the whiteout, hoping to reach a state cabin and its emergency radio. Navigating by feel, she spotted smoke through the trees. She found an unmapped, half-buried cabin that looked more like a bunker than a residence, with a faint glow coming from the small windows. Inside, the air was warm. A fire crackled in the stove, and an open can of food sat on the floor with a spoon still inside. It looked like the inhabitant had stepped out into the blizzard only seconds before she arrived. Her relief vanished when she saw what was on the shelf. Next to a pair of binoculars lay a notebook filled with dates and descriptions. It contained detailed logs of travelers in the area, what they were wearing, their gear, and the exact direction they were headed. The presence of the logs redefined the entire structure. She was standing in an active hunter's blind, a surveillance station built specifically to monitor people moving through the isolated terrain. The silence of the cabin was shattered by a sound from below. A woman's scream erupted from beneath the floorboards, a high, piercing shriek of someone in total agony. Terror took over. She bolted for the door, started her snowmobile, and drove into the storm. The scream followed her into the wind as she left the victim behind, driven by the singular need to escape the person who kept people under their floor. Her partner was eventually rescued, but the authorities could never find the cabin she described. It remained a piece of camouflaged infrastructure, a tool used by someone who understands that the desperate will always run toward a light in the window. While some predators build cabins in the snow, others use the familiarity of a shared history to lead their targets into the dark. A high school student spent months thinking about a girl named Sienna, a quiet, aloof classmate who seemed to exist in her own world. When he finally asked her out, she agreed, but she took total control of the destination, a remote hike on a trail he had never seen. Sienna drove him 45 minutes away to an empty lot. She led him to a fork in the trail and pointed toward a narrow, overgrown path, insisting that he take the lead as they moved deeper into the dense pines. He realized the woods had gone silent. He turned around to speak to Sienna, but she was gone. The trail behind him was empty, and she didn't answer when he called her name. Two men suddenly emerged from the trees. One stepped out from behind a trunk directly in front of him, while the other moved to block the trail back to the car. They didn't say a word, they just started running. The first man lunged, grabbing his ankle and slamming him into the dirt. He fought with everything he had,
kicking free of the man's grip and sprinting blindly through the brush. He eventually found the main trail and reached the parking lot, his mouth bloodied and his heart hammering. Sienna was already at the car, leaning against it with a calm, nonchalant expression. She claimed she had been looking for him the whole time, but her lack of concern and her clean clothes told a different story. She had acted as the bait, leading him to the exact spot where the men were waiting. He never spoke to her again. He was left with the realization that she had weaponized his trust and the isolation of that trail to remove him from the world. The vast emptiness of the wild is often an illusion. The trees and the snow provide a mask, hiding the fact that sometimes the person leading you into the woods is the one who wants you to stay there. Subscribe for more true horror stories.